That was right. All right.
We're back.
We're back, yes. Well, you might be back. I decided to leave.
Okay. I got plenty.
Yeah. Couple of things when we come back. First, let us pray on this, the 18th day of the 11th month, year of our Lord Jesus the Christ, 2015. Heavenly Father, give us the strength, the wisdom, the courage, and the patience to do your will in all things. We ask that you would confuse or convert our enemies. In Jesus the Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, meeting tomorrow night at Lacey's at 6:30.
I'm not going to do that.
And we will be discussing in great detail, tactically and survival related aspects of what happened in France last Friday night and what's been going on since then. So there's some very interesting things have come out.
No show next week.
Yeah, right, that's coming.
Yeah.
That's next. We do these in chronological
Is that
order.
right? You have some kind of organization here?
No. We're unorganized. We're Louisiana unorganized.
Unorganized, yeah.
That's right.
I told somebody that's what I belong to.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's officially,
They
that's under the
said,
state
"You?"
charter. That's under the state rules. So, hey, we'll call it what it is. We're not
It
gonna
is what it is.
We're not gonna gild the lily. That's,
I've said that about many things lately.
yeah. No show next week. Will be Thanksgiving Day, and they'll be closing the facilities here early this year. So we won't be on.
I wasn't going to be here anyway.
Well, but
Of course,
no
according to
show.
you, I couldn't leave for Florida.
That's right. He
until
wasn't
10
going to be
o'clock.
allowed to leave from Florida till the show was over that night.
And I told
He
him,
wanted to be on. He's going to.
I told him, don't hold your breath.
Oh, his wife would have something to say about
I
that,
think so.
and we'll have to bow to the wishes of the spouse.
Exactly.
A couple of things that I forgot to mention last hour that you need to look for. Alan West had an interesting, and I didn't write that because I was going to look it up and I forgot, an interesting thing on his Facebook page. So if you're on Facebook, go to Alan West's Facebook thing. This is an interesting thing dealing with this French ISIS situation.
And
And
notably, Alan West was what, a colonel?
Yeah, he's a retired colonel and a congressman. He's a congressman from, I think,
Of which I
Florida.
had the honor of meeting, by the way.
Yeah, seemed like a real good guy.
Go ahead, caller.
Nope, got disconnected. Call back, caller.
Call back.
Jim spazzed here.
No, I
pushed the
didn't
wrong button.
spaz. I pressed the
Yeah,
line
you pushed
and
the wrong button.
he hung up.
Don't get an
He
excuse.
hung up. He hung up on me.
On PBS, look for Frontline, and they are replaying it, but it's early in the morning, unfortunately. So look for it. They'll probably replay it again at a decent hour. Frontline did an exclusive in Afghanistan covering ISIS, and the same program, they covered the Taliban in Pakistan for 30 minutes each. They had people on the ground with them, interviewing them, filming them, etc. Quite
time is that
interesting.
on?
What?
What time?
You're going to have to catch it. It's Frontline on PBS. Look for it.
12.
It's going to be Frontline in Afghanistan, and then the other half Frontline in Pakistan. But I think they just called it the Frontline in Afghanistan part, and mentioned they were in Pakistan too. But what was interesting is this dovetails with something that the Obama said today when he criticized the Republicans for being afraid of children and widows.
Ooh.
Oh, he was very sarcastic about this.
Jim.
Well, this thing on Afghanistan and ISIS in Afghanistan, they were training little children this big to use AKs and to stab people. Okay? And they put them through their paces for the cameras, of course, but you see a child that's no more than, couldn't have been 10 years old. Now with their diet and all, they're kind of small, so probably 10-year-old. which the average American 10-year-old is going to be several inches taller, so about the size of our 7, 8-year-olds, carrying AKs and doing tactical firing with their AKs, live fire. Okay, multiple of these little children out on the same field, firing in staggered formations, etc. So we wouldn't even dream of doing that here for anybody 8 or 10 years old, but they're out there doing it with several of them at a time.
Unless you live in Ville Platte and hunt squirrels.
Well, that's true, but there's a squirrel, a squirrel,
Squirrel's a lot different than
a
an
410
AK.
break open shotgun is not quite the same as an AK. But you need to look for that thing on Frontline.
Well,
And
let's add into,
well, yeah, the other aspect was the widow. We're afraid of their widows. You see.
well, here's what he said. Oh, don't hang up. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, that religion, it must be warped, huh?
Well, it's more than just a religion. First of all, it's a misnomer to call it a religion.
Exactly.
It's a cult. Literally, quite literally, it is a cult. And the God that they worship, this by the name of Allah, is a demon. It's a demon that was the primary small g god of the desert tribes when Muhammad was trying to set himself up as a prophet for somebody. The Christians and the Jews rejected him. The Hebrews and the Christians rejected him as a prophet. That's why he started his own. And he went out and found the meanest, most powerful god in the pantheon of gods of the desert tribes. And that's the one he adopted as his god. And he bastardized the name to Allah. And they seem to think, some people seem to think that that's the same as the Christian and Jewish God of the Old Testament. Same as the Christian God of the New Testament. Wrong.
No.
He adopted a few smidgens from all of the other, from the other major faiths and religions of the world, so that he could appeal to more people that way. He did the same thing that the guy that came up with the rapture myth did in the 80s, in the 1880s, when he created the rapture myth. So he wanted to appeal to people's baser instincts. That's why you can, as long as you die in the name of the faith, unquote, you go to heaven automatically. Even if what you do is totally against any morality, is against any ethical or common sense treatment of your fellow man. That's why anybody who's an infidel, who's not one of them, is to be at the very least shunned, at the most enslaved, and then forced to become a Mohammedan, and then killed if necessary.
Well, it sounds like none of them wants to darn.
Well, it's not none of them. Some of them have not adopted the baser parts of this. They will deny that that's in the Koran. But all of this is in the Koran. Even the fact that they ridicule the Negro race and think of them as nothing but subhuman or animal. They still do. They still do. But they're making these people, or they're helping these people adopt Mohammedanism. It's a convenient way of recruiting folks. And it also happens to give them a slave force when the time comes. Because if you're captured and they want you as a slave for them, you have to become a Mohammedan to be even their slave. Otherwise, they'll kill you. So, and nothing that they have conquered, no country that they have conquered was conquered peacefully or done by osmosis or gradualism. It was all conquered by fire and sword. This is a religion of peace? I don't think so. No, not by any means. Except the peace of the grave for any who do not believe like they do.
He was talking earlier about the state police endorsing that Edwards guy.
Yeah.
That's active state police, active duty?
Well, no, this was the State Police Association did that. And they're not supposed to do that.
No, it's totally against the rules. I mean, it's their rules, the state's rules.
See, the State Police Association includes retirees and active duty state police.
But the one that made the final
Somebody must have finagled something to help this Edwards guy out. It sounds like Democrat.
Well, he is a Democrat. And of course, there again, anybody who claims to be a Democrat these days, you need to have a serious look at the Democratic Party that you're supporting. Because they kill babies and applaud killing babies. They applaud the sale of baby body parts, which is illegal under any circumstances, to take any money, and the excuse that Planned Parenthood gives is, oh, we only take the expenses. We only take our expenses out and of transport. No, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it under federal law. Yet they're receiving $500 million plus a year from the federal government. Not to mention, that doesn't include their Medicaid payments that they get. When some woman who's on Medicaid has an abortion, not only do they put in a Medicaid claim, they also charge the mother for killing her baby, and then put in a claim for Medicaid for the federal government to pay them also. So they double dip on that.
Yeah. But I wonder if somebody's going to make the associations pay. If there's anything they can do to them.
Well, I made a call to civil service today, and I didn't get a call back, but that's not surprising. But if you know me, that's not the end of the trail for me. I'm going to bug them until they talk to me or go to the press. What I want to read is something we missed in this. This was from a trusted friend. This is in the article about the state police. I have a friend who's a trooper who's quietly supporting Vitter, who told me Saturday that State Police Commander Mike Evanson ordered the Troopers Association Board's endorsement of John Bell Edwards because, here we go, remember, he cut a deal with Edwards to get himself reappointed as State Police Commander in an Edwards administration. He had been supporting Vitter until he became convinced that Edwards was going to win. Now, we haven't verified that, but I said it earlier. He had to have something. I didn't realize that it is an appointed position.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? If Vitter wins, he's going to be unemployed. I mean, we all know that's how the world rolls in this deal. Anytime stuff like this happens.
Our politicians are not crooked, man. That's good, decent people.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In what
Human beings.
In what dimension
in
do
what
you live?
dimension? In what country on the planet Jupiter?
We all know what politicians are.
Oh, yeah. And it don't matter what party it is either.
No.
I tell you, man,
But-
I just don't know. We're going to lose this country. It's coming. If it ain't already.
Well, the country's already gone. This is not the country that I grew up in.
No,
It's
no
not
way.
it. It's not the country, same country. That's why I'm doing this show, okay?
That's why I do what I do for my grandchildren.
I want to turn this country around, and this is what I can do to turn it around, to
We
put
can.
the truth out there. And after that, it's up to you, okay?
Yeah.
I'm the watchman on the wall. He's the watchman on the wall. Everybody that helps us in here, watchmen on the wall, because they're helping us get the word out. The bottom line is, if you're injured because I didn't say anything, then it's on me. But if you don't do anything when I warn you and something happens, it's not on me. It's your problem.
And you know, you're right, because I keep telling you some of the things that happen to me, to people that are around me at church and other areas, run into people in public, you know, and it gives you more ambition to continue to do what you're doing, because suddenly you're finding out that you have influenced somebody.
Mhm.
You know, I don't care about any, you know, I don't need a plaque on the wall. I just need to see things start to change and go back to where they were.
Yep. Oh,
That's-
another good program you can watch, and it's on AOC, played regularly, is Amy Goodman's, what's the name of that she puts out? Democracy Now. Normally, she's pro-Obama, et cetera, but in this situation with the refugees and ISIS, they've had some good common sense discussion about that. So, and with some good information.
Well, I'm watching
So-
Democrats. We're watching Democrats.
Yeah, you got Schumer, Chuckles Schumer.
Of all people, Schumer.
Has bucked Obama on this thing and says
But he
these
was
Syrian-
right, though. He said he's a Jew.
Well, he's Jewish, yeah. And if this happened to the Jews, you can bet that the Jews would be given special dispensation to come in here. The notion that, well, we can't bring them in because they're Christian, we got to bring in the other people first. No, the Christians are being picked on.
I think what's going to happen is the wrong people are going to get killed by these foreigners coming in, and there's going to be a coup d'etat.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's a possibility.
Mm.
There's a possibility. And
That's a growing thing.
the underground attitude out there, man, some of the stuff that has come out when you watch some of these YouTube videos, etc., and then take a look, always look at the comments at the bottom. There's been something that somebody told me about, and I think it was the Alan West article. I forgot to make better notes, but and when I go find the article, I'll know for sure that he put on Facebook. The comments are really, really inflammatory against Obama. In the words of the guy that read them, who knows what he's talking about, he said these people are asking for a visit from the Secret Service
Cool.
for what they said about Obama in response to this article. And we've seen this more and more, articles out of left-wing type things, like on the Huffington Post, and there's another one, Salon, that's extremely left-wing. And I've gone to some of the articles because they've been referred to in other things that I was reading, so I go to see what they had to say. Because I know you've got to be careful about this internet stuff and what people say was said by somebody else. So I always try and go back to what was said by somebody else. And while the article, especially on gun control, the articles pushing to take our guns away from us have received comments that you would not believe. And even in something like Salon or Huffington Post, it will be maybe 20% agreeing with the article. The rest are slamming the article with the lies that are put out in them, and they're full of lies. They're full of it. They're bald-faced, outright lies about our guns. The statistics, they'll claim that 80% of the people want to pick up assault weapons, for example, so-called assault weapons, AR-15s, AKs, etc. So look at this stuff, folks. Look for it yourself. Don't rely on what we're telling you here tonight.
I tell people that all the time.
Give up your ball game twice a week and spend it on, you heard me, spend it on the internet looking up this stuff.
I spend enough
Reading
time
it for
on the
yourself.
internet.
Do what?
I do a lot on the internet.
Sounds like,
I didn't point any
president that he
finger.
hates this country.
Do what now?
Sounds like the president hates this country.
Oh, I don't have any
That
doubt.
sound like
I don't
he
have any
does.
doubt. Him and that so-called wife of his, both.
And then his other buddy,
And,
John Kerry,
well, Kerry,
it's a traitor.
the thing about these people, too, understand that we said before, they truly believe that their misguided beliefs are true, are reality, and will work.
Yeah.
The notion is that, well, we weren't in charge before. And the reason that this type of socialism failed before, or socialism period failed before, is because we weren't the ones that were in charge. We're smarter than Adolf Hitler, Joe Stalin, and Mao Zedong were. Okay?
They're proving the point that they're not.
And, well, yeah.
Well, you
I mean,
know what I heard? Somebody told me there's some kind of 98.1 that somebody in Johnson's talking in the morning, that those people on that air, now this is what I was told, I didn't hear it. Lafayette is a sanctuary city.
Well,
That's probably,
not in the
Dude.
sense of a San Francisco.
no, it's nothing like that. What it amounts to is
Well, no,
basically,
they said they were going to put some of those people that were coming from overseas over here in Lafayette.
yeah, but that's not the same thing.
Not the same
The
thing.
sanctuary city notion is where
Nobody goes home.
an illegal from south of the border is picked up by the local law, and the fact that they're illegal and certain other things that they're doing that are not legal are ignored by the local law. That's a sanctuary city situation.
They never inform ICE.
They don't tell ICE that they've got them, etc. And the problem that Lafayette has had is that ICE has done nothing when they've called them.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that
Well, once this came out, then they started sending the emails to ICE. Once some of this stuff started surfacing.
and some of it was that the local sheriff was, oh, well, ICE isn't going to pay any attention anyway, so don't even bother to let them know that we got somebody that we think is illegal.
And if you think it's bad, what did they tell us? It's close to 1,000?
They've got 1,000 outstanding warrants for people that they think are illegal that they can't serve.
Well, part of the problem is they can't find them.
Yeah, that's a lot of the problem. But it's got nothing to do with these Syrians coming in.
Yeah, that's a separate deal.
That's a separate issue, and the stuff that was dumped on the candidate for sheriff, Mark Garber, was a total lie. It was
The water board boy?
the what?
The water board man?
I don't know about that. I don't know.
We don't know
We don't
about
have
that.
anything on that. I don't know.
We have nothing on
I don't know
that.
where you've heard
He
that.
said he interrogated people and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, again,
That doesn't mean he waterboarded.
it doesn't mean he did. It doesn't mean he
I'm
didn't.
just joking. That's a
we
joke
know
didn't
that.
work.
But some people think that's a viable form of questioning. I've talked to some people that,
I'll tell you what, when I went through training, they waterboarded me before I went to NAM. And he did it 3 times, and if they'd have done it the 4th time, I'd have told him anything you wanted to know.
that's what's wrong with you.
I can tell you, it's a
Well,
very,
okay, fellas, y'all enjoy yourself. It was a pleasure talking to y'all. I hope I didn't
we
upset
appreciate the
you.
comments.
Just some things that people are joking about, you know.
Oh,
No
yeah.
big deal. It's only politics.
Well,
And y'all have a blessed one, okay?
all right,
Y'all
thank you.
too.
You too.
I want to finish this on the,
On the widow,
yeah, let me read this thing, this is,
remember again what Obama said the other day to ridicule the Republicans.
here it is.
That they're afraid of.
This time around is much the same. Yesterday, Obama mocked his opposition for being afraid of widows and orphans, since most of America stands strongly opposed to his plan. He says, apparently they are scared of widows and orphans coming into the United States of America, Obama said of the GOP. At first, they were too scared of the press being too tough on them in the debates. This guy's a real, no, I can't say that on the air. Now they are scared of 3-year-old orphans. That doesn't seem so tough to me. Well, the question here is, woman blows herself to hell in Paris raid, and look what Obama said. I think we need to be worried about widows. This isn't the first time you've had a bomber that's a female.
And it's not the first time it was a widow. I don't know I don't think she was a widow. I think she is, I don't know whether she was a widow before she was dead or not, because they're claiming that her husband, which was the #1 mover and shaker for the Paris attacks, was the guy that supposedly led the attacks, if you will, was one of those killed in the same raid where she blew herself up. Okay, now, she's not, if she was a widow at the time she blew herself up, she would not be the first widow that has
No.
suicide bombed. There have been others in recent history, within the last 2 years, I can recall 2 or 3 that blew themselves up. Now, take that into account with the video that I showed, I flashed around the internet last week of the woman coming up to the Israeli checkpoint. She's in the full Arab female garb, doesn't have the mask on, but she's got the head thing and all. And she's got a great big purse. She goes up to the guard, hands him her ID card. While he's looking at that, unattentively, by the way, she gets real close to him, starts fiddling in her purse, and pulls out a butcher knife. And then goes after him with it, straight on. Well, he got cut. Now, we're going to be talking about that tomorrow night. He got cut, but he shot her. So if she wasn't a widow, it was only because she hadn't lived long enough.
This is, I'd like to put this out and let people think about this, because 4 things to know about the vetting process for Syrian refugees. When I told Tom this, the first step, the number 1 step, refugees are screened by several different agencies. The first point of refugees' contact is with the UN High Commission for Refugees. The UNHCR refers people to countries based on whether they have any family members there and where resettlement makes the most sense, says U.S. officials. If that's the U.S., then the refugees are vetted by the National Counterterrorism Center, the FBI's Terrorist Screening Center, and the Departments of State, Defense, and Homeland Security. Really? I called to New Orleans and asked about the 14 that came in. They just showed up.
They just showed up.
They came into the country. They didn't come from Washington, D.C., or the UN in New York, to where they would have been vetted. There's no way. And the other question I have for you, how do we trust anything from the UN? And you know Obama's tied to the UN. I mean, they say this is an 18 to 24 month process. It says 1,800 Syrian refugees in the past 2 years, and President Obama wants to allow 10,000 more. The administration says half of those who have been admitted are children, and about a quarter of them are adults over 60. I'd have to see some stuff on that. Whether that's true or not, that's not what's coming through our resources. What they're saying is, Monica Crowley, her and her husband went on vacation in Germany, okay, when the big deal, when all of them were showing up in Germany. The video I saw of that was not women and children. Over 80% of what I saw in that video and what she reported on were men, 18 to 20 to 45 years old. And they not out of shape. They are trained.
No.
And I saw a thing today. The reason Obama's so upset is, and no verification of this, but it's all looking down at the little glass ball, is the fact that this possibly, and I will use the word possibly, with all these refugees coming in, is his way to start a civil disorganization of the country and create martial law, and there's no election next year in 2016, and he serves a 3rd term.
It's one possible reason for
It's
what
a possible
he's doing.
thing. It's nothing that we have.
or they're doing, okay? He's
Yeah.
not alone in this. Now, this refugee thing,
Well, it's definitely messed up his plans.
well, yeah, the French attack has had unintended consequences there.
Oh,
It's awakened a lot of people.
big time.
And more on that as things develop, but it looks like it's gonna be quite conducive to what we're planning after the election, to get the people that are supporting these folks coming in here to rethink what they're gonna do.
Well,
Here's the law.
this is
This is the 1980 Refugee Act, federal.
which was amended.
It's been amended, but here's what is in it now. Admission of refugees. The act, as amended by the Immigration and Nationality Act, is defining a refugee as any person who is outside their country of residence or nationality or without nationality and is unable or unwilling to return to and is unable or unwilling to avail himself or herself of the protection of that country because of persecution or a well-founded fear of persecution on account of race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group or political opinion. The annual admission of refugees is set at a 50,000 cap per fiscal year,
Can be adjusted.
unless in an emergency situation, during which the president may change this number for a period of 12 months.
Only
attorney-
about 5,000 people. Yeah. Sorry.
The Attorney General is also granted power to admit additional refugees and grant asylum to current aliens, but all admissions must be reported to Congress and are limited to 5,000. So 55,000 is the cap under this rule. Now,
Tell them who the head of the immigration and decided.
well, the State Department's head of immigration now is a Mohammedan female. And I had her bio here.
Yeah,
Somebody,
I thought I printed it out, but I
somebody
didn't.
gave me, and I don't know what I did with it.
Just look this
but-
up though. This is the Refugee Act of 1980.
Yep, and
I mean, there's a whole lot more in here, but that section was what we needed to tell you. That section is now being chewed up by a lot of different people because who makes that decision?
right. The other thing that's been talked about today heavily in regard to this is that local agencies, local nonprofit and charitable agencies like the church are to handle these refugees at the local level with the advice and consent and support of the states that they're in, all right? And now we have, how many governors have said, no, you're not gonna bring any of those people
The
in?
last count was 32.
So you've got 32 states that are refusing to accept at the gubernatorial level these refugees, and with a lot of justification. Because here's what, and Jim alluded to it, talking about the length of time it takes to vet these people under this, the 4 steps of the whole process of finding out. Vetting means to basically decide whether or not they're good guys, or what kind of good guys they are.
72 hours is what those, the ones that came in, the 14 came in, it was 72 hours.
72 hours is what they were given, or what was allotted for them to be okay to come in. That's the same thing they were doing with the illegals that were coming in to this country from south of the border. But Josh Ernest, and I heard him live yesterday, saw him live yesterday morning being interviewed, and he was not a happy camper because the interviewees were on Fox. And they asked him about this vetting process. And he said, well, it takes 18 to 24 months to vet these people.
Gee, where'd he get that?
We are very much capable. We're very capable of vetting these people and okaying them coming in, that they're good people, finding out that they're good people and letting them in. But it takes 18 to 24 months by his admission, but they're only giving them 72 hours. They're only
That was
using
my
72.
understanding.
And
through
that's
resources.
probably, it has to be, because look at what they're doing. They're bringing these people through as fast as they can.
The
They
guy
want-
that disappeared was less than 24 hours.
Yeah, but by their own admission, it's supposed to be 18 to 24 months it takes to do a normal vetting process. But, now I can see where they can cut it down to 24 hours or 72 hours, and here's why. Because this 18 to 24 months is under normal circumstances,
Exactly.
i.e. a normal country out there with normal records that have not been burned in a fire, hit by artillery strikes, etc. In Syria, on the other hand, that's all at the time it takes
They have no records.
to have them fill out the paperwork and to put them through the bureaucratic machinery with no vetting. I guarantee you these people cannot be vetted. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
On Fox this morning, and I think we talked about this, there was a former FBI
Yeah.
assistant director on there,
Yeah, I
and
saw
he
it.
stated it very clearly, and they kept asking him the same question, and he kept giving them the same answer. There is no way we can vet these people at all because there are no records of them in Syria. And he said there is no way you can vet them. And I'm sitting there going,
Now there are some ways. First, Tom.
Well, I haven't seen any proof that any of these people are Syrians.
Well, that's true. That's true.
It's true.
We don't know that they're Syrians. We don't know that they're Lower Slabovians. We don't know that they even came from Antarctica. We don't know where they came from. But remember what they just found in Honduras. The Honduran border people stopped 5 or 6 Syrians
5
from proceeding any further
was stolen
in
passport.
Honduras because stolen passports from Greece.
Go ahead.
Yeah, are these illegals going to go ahead, the illegals coming from across the border down there by Mexico? Which illegals are going to be set before the others to get their paperwork?
Well, no, understand. The U.S. government is facilitating these refugees. Now, under the definitions of a refugee, they have to be fleeing from some kind of problem, other than merely wanting another job, which it's been proven that some of these people are well off, gainfully employed, or were gainfully employed in Syria, who do have some Syrian paperwork, and they want to get on welfare here.
Yep.
They can make more money on the welfare system here than they could over there in Syria with a gainful employment. Does that sound familiar?
The cost per Syrian rebel is $16,700. They get 3 months to adjust, and then after that, they're done being supported by the government, and they're eligible to get involved in our programs here.
Medicaid,
Medicaid,
welfare, Social Security.
food stamps.
You wonder why Social Security's in trouble? Because they keep adding people like that to it.
It sounds like a bunch of Democrats.
Democrats?
Democrats.
Democrats?
Democrats.
Demon rats.
Demon rats.
Demon rats. Okay?
And there's a lot of demon rats that were born on the Republican side.
Yeah, they're rhinos. That's why the Republican Party needs to change its symbol from...
They both take their turn putting it to us. We all know that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's just a question of which one puts it to us faster.
I still like the fact that our forefathers never set up this deal to be a career.
Yeah.
That is the bottom line of all of this. I saw the Facebook thing where they had 10 or 12 of them on there, and the least amount of years they had was 30. Some of them are so old, I don't think they can think.
How true it is or not. But everyone that's a politician,
Yeah,
as long as they're elected into office, after they serve one term, they begin to collect a pension.
right.
But
After
see,
one-
that's like people like Jeff Landry. That's why he didn't get to go back. Because he didn't curtail or bow down to their system up there. And you know, and that's more, I've heard of other stories. I mean, Jeff came to one of our meetings and he literally told us exactly what happened in Washington, D.C. And you're right. They get up there, they might go with good intentions, but then you got the boys. And the boys say, if you don't do what I say, you're not going to be back, or you're not going to get anything for your state.
Yep.
And then what happens? They get corrupted.
Yep. Anyway, this refugee thing is a joke, regardless of how you stack it. And it's a joke on the American people. It's a joke on our system of government. It's a joke on our way of life. Because these
Joke on our
people,
laws, too.
the what?
It's a joke on our laws too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The
it,
law says that they got to be. I mean, I don't know. It's all bizarre, and it's like I think we're going to lose a lot of our countrymen because of these people coming in.
Well, you have to look at, he can give $500 million set aside, I believe that's the number, for the refugees, but the Social Security can't get a 2 or 3% raise.
well, that's because the
There's
cost
really
of
something
living.
wrong with this picture.
It's like we went to the grocery store today, basket full of food, $300.
Cool.
Okay? Now, what would that have cost a year ago? Probably 10% less or more. 2 years ago, 20% less. 10 years ago, half as much. But there's no inflation because they don't, and I mentioned this in line in front of everybody when it was ringing up. Okay? Inflation is not included, does not include the price of food and fuel. Official inflation figures do not include food and fuel, people. So, Social Security recipients did not get a raise this year because inflation didn't go up.
Yeah, well,
Because, excuse me, food and fuel didn't go up? You want to bet?
fuel came down, but
Well, the fuel is a double-edged sword. You know how much oil is sitting out there that they have no place to go with
they
it?
have tankers sitting off the coast of Houston with nowhere to put the oil.
Yep.
47 of them,
Is that what it is? I
Off
knew there was a
Houston?
lot of them.
yeah.
They're
47.
just sitting out there. They have nowhere to go with the oil. No storage tanks, nothing.
Yep. And certain countries are proceeding to sell their oil at reduced prices. You wonder why ISIS is making so much money? Is because every drop of oil that they can sell will be bought by some greedy country
Mm-hmm.
or industrialists within that country. The Chinese are buying up all the oil they can get until they run out of storage space. The Russians, same thing. The Russians have their own oil, but it's hard to get. It's in Siberia. And you know who they use to get their oil out of Siberia for them? American companies. Okay? Now,
You look at insurance,
Yeah.
government insurance, flood insurance. When I bought my house 23 years ago, I was paying $230 a year for flood insurance. I'm now paying almost $1,200 a year for flood insurance. And I live in a flood zone that's never flooded. They concreted the coulee. They built a road in back of my house which raised the level of the landscape. And the worst storm in the 23 years I lived there was when we had 12 to 14 inches of rain in about 4 hours. And the coulee filled up and it got to my fence in my backyard, which is about 40 feet from my house. And that's it. But almost $1,200. And I guarantee you, when I get my tax bill this coming year, it'll go up again.
Yep,
So I'm working to pay my house off so I don't have to have flood insurance.
yep. But the situation is stacked.
Huh? Oh,
Oh, he's
left.
gone.
He
Okay,
left.
thank you, caller.
Thank you.
This refugee situation is out of control.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
I know who that is.
Go ahead.
Do you know the music y'all have for On Hold?
Say again?
Do you know what kind of music you have when you get on hold for y'all?
No.
It's got to be ACDC. It's some devil's crap. I'm telling you.
Music?
I don't know who's got control of that.
I mean, it's satanic music.
Huh. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Look at the stuff. Look at the garbage.
You all in your shop over there to call it and see.
Huh. Look at the garbage you get on your computer.
Let me ask you this. Don't we have a large infestation of wild hogs in the South here?
Yeah. Yeah, our floor director just bagged 2 of them this week.
Oh, you did. You got 2 of them. Yeah, Hartwell's doing his
I
job.
think they ought to put that out to these mothers moving in this area. And also, when they bring them in to feed them, they ought to feed them boudin crackling.
Why not?
Yeah.
Hey, it's perfectly good. There's nothing wrong with it.
Or pork steak.
There's nothing wrong with it. And it's actually down. The price is down. In that food we bought today, there was no, well, the only beef that was in it was hamburger meat. Okay? There was no steak. But we did have some pork.
Now, let me ask you, in Syria and all those Turkey and all, they have no pork farms, right?
Right. Well, the Christians,
Where all these pigs come from?
the Christians may have them. What pigs are you talking about?
Where does pork originate?
Comes from pig.
Huh?
Comes from pig.
Well, I know that, but where is it started? Now,
We really don't know, I think.
You'd have to go back in the prehistory to see where pigs originated. The domestication of pigs probably started in Europe. I don't think there were any pigs in North America until we brought them in, except for some varieties like javelinas were here. But javelinas are not supposed to be related to pigs. They're supposed to be a subspecies that's not even part of the pig family. And if you look,
where they brought them in from?
we brought them in from Europe. Pigs are very resilient, and if you let them go, as you see with all of the wild ones, the wild pigs in this part of the country anyway are descended from domestic pigs that got loose for whatever reason.
Not any of the pig in New Orleans or...
They're not. They're
It's strange because you have all these pigs in the woods, so it rains, the water goes into the water supply. You got pig feces, you got all kinds of. I just don't feel if people want to come to this area.
well. Our water, Lafayette's water, comes out of a well. It's all well water out of the
But
aquifer.
it goes down in the ground from the top of the ground.
No. The water you're talking about gets run off in the streams, into the bayous, etc. Most of it, the very little of it makes its way down into the aquifer. The water that's in our aquifer comes from up in North Louisiana, and it filters through the rocks and the sand this way, because we're lower than they are in North Louisiana. And that water is, a lot of that's groundwater, but it's from higher up. But it's all filtered through the ground. One of the best ways to filter dirty water is just a bucket full of clean sand. And by the time it gets out of the bucket at the bottom, it's pretty clean stuff. Except for the chemicals that might be dissolved in it, that then you put a layer of activated charcoal in your bucket. And if you're still a little uncomfortable about it, just a little chlorine bleach, or you make your own out of pool chlorine. And we get people all the time with the misconception.
Colloidal silver works too.
Do what?
Colloidal silver works.
Oh yeah, colloidal silver is good. Problem is, it's good for a lot of other things too, and I wouldn't waste it on water unless I had to.
Well, let me tell you, we have colloidal silver generators over here, and we make our own colloidal silver. But
Yeah.
they say to pour when you make your colloidal silver in a big gallon, you pour it through a coffee filter, and you put it in little jars, and you can use the coffee filter as an antibiotic patch when you have a sore or something.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, the particulates that you filter out would be good for you. See, folks, that's the reason that silverware was invented. They realized that utensils made from silver and gold, but gold being a little more pricey, it didn't catch on except with the royalty. But gold is also an antibiotic, antiviral, antifungal. Silver in eating utensils was a health thing. It improved the health of the people using the silver utensils. Even the plated silver utensils would be a benefit. Now the folks, like in the days of the ancient Roman Empire, they didn't know that lead was poisonous, but it was easy to make pots and pans out of lead. So guess what? Lead poisoning was a serious problem in the Roman Empire. And it's been, I believe it's in one of the top 10 categories for the decline of the Roman Empire, what caused the decline.
Wow.
Of course, the same thing's happening in Washington, D.C., as we've told you before.
Yeah.
In Washington, D.C., water supply, the city water has one of the highest lead concentrations in the world. And the reason for that is the old pipes are soldered together with lead, and the federal government likes to put fluoride in the water supply. And lead has an affinity for fluoride and is actually pulled out of the pipes in greater quantities because of the fluoride in the water than if it were not fluoridated. But all these Congress critters and government officials in Washington, D.C., they don't drink the city water anyway, but they bathe in it. And the ice cubes in their cocktails at happy hour for the lobbyists are going to be made with the city water. And interesting thing about fluoride, you can absorb it through the skin while bathing in it.
Oh, you can.
Yep. Fluoride is very nasty stuff.
Well,
Absolutely.
if you come to my house, I'll show you the fluoride. the colloidal silver generators we have. It's very efficient, and the particulates that it generates are very fine. And we have a meter to gauge quite familiar,
Uh-huh.
So if you need some colloidal silver, let me know, Jerry. I'll make you some.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Tom,
The politicians don't live in Washington, D.C.
Oh, that's true. Politicians-
They live outside of
they
Washington.
live in Virginia.
Yeah, they live in Virginia. That's true. They don't. But see, they still have their showers in their offices, and they wash their hands afterward sometimes.
Their hands are too dirty to wash.
Oh, okay. But they're gonna get some of that. They're gonna benefit from that fluoride. Believe me.
Yeah.
Yeah, the school children in D.C. have some of the highest concentrations of lead in their blood, and of course, this gets blamed on what? On chewing banisters, on chewing the paint, the lead paint in their houses. Oh, they're poor. We gotta strip the lead paint off. No, it's from the fluoridated water.
I love it.
So,
All right, let me get out of here.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
We got to tell people we don't have much time, do we?
have a good Thanksgiving, folks.
Yeah, have a good
We'll
Thanksgiving.
take that call. We got
Go ahead, caller. We're running short, but go ahead.
Yes, Tom James, just a real quick comment. I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure, well, almost sure that some of the first earliest domestic pigs were found in China. So I'll just run that by you. Thank
That
you.
may be.
All right,
That
thank
could
you.
be, yeah. Could be China.
All right.
All right, a real
Bye.
quick one. Yesterday, November 17th, 25 bear and blackjack bombers attacked targets in Syria. Bear and blackjack bombers are Russian. 25 hit Syrian targets. And that's a significant increase in what has been going on before that. The stuff that's been hitting targets before this were conventional fighter bombers, tactical. These are strategic bombers.
Jet or prop?
One of both. Bears are turbo, the big turboprop, the old turboprop. They're beautiful planes.
Blackjack's or jet?
And the blackjack is a swing wing
Holy shoot.
jet bomber. It's the equivalent.
Of our B-1.
We're done.
Yeah,